Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
We are recording.
Go ahead and shoot. Tell us what you want to know about.
Okay. One of my questions is we've been talking about feedback, and I use Google Classroom. I'm a math teacher, and when the students submit something, it's in a PDF, I would love to be able to like circle or make a comment or put in the correct answer or something like that right on that paper, that PDF. How could I do that? That makes sense. Instead of just saying, I can make a private comment in Google Classroom like, hey, good job, or something like that. But then I hate to type out, all my comment. Like I'd like to be able to say, look at the circle or look at the highlighted part or something like that. Is there any way of doing that?
Yes, the answer is yes. I'm pulling something up right now, so I'll see if I can show this. Do you do the feedback on the iPad, or do you do where do you typically work from? The Mac?
Yeah, the Mac. I'm on my Mac. Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. So let me see if I can pull this up here quick and show you.
Thank you.
Of course, I have to have the right settings, and I just broke them all when I tried my little test. So
I'm trying to do it on my iPad too.
Right. What I'm going to show you is from the iPad itself, just because you can write on it. But let me share my screen.
Yes, I could see that. Thank you.
Okay. Go into a course that I was just playing with, and find a PDF here quick. Actually, let me. Give me a second to switch over one that I just uploaded. A little bit quicker. So once we're in there, I've got one student in this class. And when I go into the coursework, that's not the one. Okay. So here's a piece that I can work with. And because you can,
Brian, you're breaking up audio.
Yeah, I couldn't hear you, Brian. Broke up a little bit. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is that any?
Yes.
Okay. In the far upper right of this screen, you can see that little pencil icon. So when I click on that, this is the student submitted work. Now I'm in as a teacher. I actually have some pen tools that I can use to write over the top work. Okay. When I hit that back button, it asks if I want to keep the changes or not. And where's my button? There's a save button in the upper right. When I click that save button, it does basically a version history over the top of that.
Okay.
So now, when we come back into it, you can see that writing I just did over the top of their work. So it's like a second version right over the top of their work.
Okay, perfect. Yes.
So that's where I would probably use the iPad, because it is really nice with the ability to write on it.
Okay, the iPad. All right, I can do that.
Yeah. I mean, you could do it probably in the Mac as well. It just happens to be easier to write on the iPad and use the iPad app.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it does. Okay. Thank you.
If you're doing really in depth work that, like I'm going to do a lot of annotation over the top of it, then I might say and do all of those. But this would work just for quick notes. I send it over to Notability is one thing we notice a lot. We had this talk earlier in the week was if you don't hit that save button, you lose.
Right? Yeah, we got to make sure I hit that.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too, just knowing when we're a lot of teachers have been saying this week kids are losing work in there when it's a PDF attachment. I just got off a call with a team, but the kids are like the PDF kind of tool that's built into Classroom. It's not super robust. So if you're wanting to have, I think it's great for the commenting feature that Brian just showed, but if you're wanting to have kids do like some more in-depth annotation over the top of a document or over the top of a PDF, I think it's definitely a better solution for them to bring it into just like, you can still post it in Classroom, but just when they go to click on it, just say open in Notability, do everything there and then turn it back in as an attachment, because a lot of kids are feeling frustration because like this annotation piece in Classroom accidentally crashes, and they're so used to the Google world where everything I do automatically saves, and it doesn't in the annotation feature, and they lose all their work. So they're starting over and over and over,
Well,
and
now
they
maybe-
don't understand.
Yeah, so maybe this will be a different question then. So that's exactly what my kids do is they upload it to Notability and they do it in there. They turn it back into Google Classroom. So will I still be able to comment on it over top of what Brian just showed me? Can I still do that?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. That's perfect. Thank you.
You still have the annotation tools when you're back in Classroom.
Yeah. So I think for the teacher commenting, I think the annotation tool works perfectly right inside a Classroom. It's quick and easy. But if it's like an in-depth kind of thing where you're wanting kids to really engage with it, to save them the frustration, I would just automatically send them to in Notability, because it's just much more reliable for them, and it's going to save that frustration, I think, personally.
I totally agree. Yep.
Tanya, the
So
one,
much. Thank you.
Go ahead, Adam.
hey, Tanya, if you're still there, I'm a math teacher as well. And I've been giving feedback via Google Classroom the way that Brian just showed as well, especially just one-to-one. If a kid turns in their homework or assignment or test, it's been pretty beneficial doing that. Typically, I write something then, see comments, so the kid knows that I actually wrote on it.
Adam, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, and the iPads had the comments on some of it. They would have to reopen it to see it. So it is helpful to indicate, go back in and look, even if you're using a Google Doc and using comments on the side. Sometimes you have to let them know that they should go check that and turn it on their iPad.
Right.
Other questions?
I have a question. So let's say that somebody did some work on Book Creator, and then so they turn it in. But then what if they add something to it like the next day? Would it be, do they need to again upload it, or would it automatically just, no, so upload it again? Because I only have access to whatever they did by the time they turn in.
Essentially, when they're uploading it to you, it's a static document. Now it's like they made it a PDF. And so you're only seeing what was in there at that point in time. If they're adding to it, they would need to submit a new version to you that'll have the updates.
Okay. And then I was wondering, and you might be able to help me maybe one-on-one, or I don't know, here is fine, but I don't know how to connect the iPad to the Mac. And that's something I need help with.
Can you say that again, Josephine?
You know, like Brian in the last meeting, I think, or the previous one said you can connect your iPad to the Mac. So basically being able to see the screen of my iPad on my laptop. And I wanted to say thank you, Brian, because the problem was the mic last time. And now this week I've been using QuickTime screen recording and you know, to share with my kids. So thank you.
Awesome.
So I'll field this quick just to show you how mine is set up. Adam, I think, has been doing a lot with this as well. So I'll just show you the setup, and then Adam, if there's anything else you want to add to this once I get through this. So I'm going to share my screen again. And I'm actually going to use, all right, can you see my my camera there, my Mac?
Yes.
Okay, so what I've done is I've physically connected, oh, hang on one second. So that happens, you go live.
Oh,
All right,
that's
so-
Brian. Oh,
Yeah, that's right. So I have physically, sorry, you're gonna get physically connected my iPad to my Mac using the charging cable. So that's that green cable that you see there.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Then I have, boy, this is gonna be goofy. I use QuickTime Player, File, and you use a new movie recording. So that's the option you want to use. Now that's why you see my screen right now. Once you select new movie recording, I'll use the screen recording just so you can see what comes up next. This little drop down right here next to the record button, if you can see where my mouse is.
Yes.
Okay. That little drop down right there is where you will select that your iPad. So that's how you pick your iPad. Once you've done that, then your movie recording will work just fine. So let me get out of my screen share here. The only thing that I would say, hang on.
it's a little weird looking right now because Brian's doing this in multiple ways. Actually using the iPad to show us what he's doing while he's shooting the iPad on the screen.
Right.
It's that direct connect and then QuickTime and looking for the new video recording, not your screen.
Okay.
And then you have to select the iPad in the drop down.
And I think the only other thing I'll mention is order seems to matter a lot here. So the first time you do this, especially, you'll want to make sure that you plug in your your iPad into your Mac first.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go search for QuickTime, and then you open the new recording. If it's your first time, you might get a little button on your iPad that says trust. So you'll want to use the trust button, and if it doesn't work at the very first time, we've also found that shutting down your Mac and your iPad and going through it in the right order sometimes helps.
Okay. Sounds good.
Adam, do you have anything? I know you've done a lot with it.
Sometimes if you keep hearing a dinging sound, it's probably a bad connection to your iPad. You'll see the iPad battery charge and then not charge. Sometimes I've actually plugged my iPad into my normal charger for a few seconds and then unplugged it and then plugged it into my Mac, and it seems to work a little bit better as well. So I would try to a little bit in advance in case there are some technical issues. Setting it up sometimes is pretty quick and easy, but I usually try it ahead of time first to make sure that it works and then come back to it as I need it.
Sounds good.
Leave it all connected and stop sharing that and then come back when you're ready to share it. And Josie, if you want to try it and have any issues, hit me up in WebEx in a space and we can walk through it together.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, the issue that I'm still struggling with is just that audio, but we'll get that figured out sometime.
And then I had another question. One of my students is having issues with WebEx, the sound, and he says that the mic is fine. So in our meetings, he's not able to hear us. And then, I think he has like the Wi-Fi connection is not the best because sometimes you can see the pixels, and he's like breaking off and stuff. So I know that has to do with that, the Wi-Fi. But then this week he hasn't been able to hear what we're saying. And I don't know, because I thought, and I'm like, could it be the iPad? But he's able to see, from Google Classroom to listen to videos, like and with her teacher, doing Flipgrid, he's able to have sound. But the problem is when he's in our meetings, he's not able to hear us, and then like we cannot hear him.
So a couple of things that you can do from a troubleshooting lens for the student, and you'll be flying blind because you'll have to kind of explain this to them remotely. But in the settings app on their iPad, if they go down to the WebEx Teams in the list, so that'll be one of the many apps that they'll have installed. But when they go into Teams, there will actually be a microphone and camera setting in there just to make sure those are turned on.
Okay.
Okay. Then, if that still doesn't do it, I think my next place to send them would be actually out to the student help site. So if they come to our Waukesha help site, and click on the big yellow button that's there. There's actually somebody in Fresh Desk who can help them live. It's really designed for students, parents, whatever. And that way you're not the intermediary trying to walk them through this. Like, let somebody who's done a zillion of these help them.
Okay.
So that's where I would send them. You always hate to pass them off, but sometimes it's easier to give it to somebody who knows, you know.
Right.
And I've had a couple of kids this week where we've had them just exit out of it, restart their iPad, and then relaunch the app. And that seems to help with that audio connection because they knew that it was working before. So we didn't think that it was, you know, their microphone or their camera not working properly. It was more of some sort of glitch. So we've had success with that. I've also had success just having them reinstall the app
That's
from
what I was thinking,
self-service.
but I'm like, I don't think he lost stuff, but I haven't, you know, I haven't recommend that. But I was thinking maybe just deleting the app and getting it again, but then like if he deletes the app and installs it again, will he have access right away, or does he have to go through the previous process as far as connecting, signing in with the save word?
He would have to log back in again if he deletes the app and reinstalls it.
Okay.
His username and password, but he won't lose any of the teams that he's already a member of.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, I got a little excited when I was typing there.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Typed my first swear word in the chat. Sorry. Saw it and I couldn't fix it. Now you'll see the shades of red. I don't need blush. I already got it.
Right. No bigger. One extra S never hurt anybody.
Steve was having that issue the other day. He was like typing something and he did it like 3 times in a row. I think he was trying to type mean and he forgot the A each time. So it was men. It's so funny. Yeah, good thing we have a smaller group here today, so I'm not as embarrassed.
Yeah, that's all right.
The recording.
It's a forgiving group.
You know.
Anything
Any
else?
good questions?
No, not at the moment.
No, I don't have anything. Thank you, though.
Anything that's working really well for you?
I'm enjoying writing on the iPad and connecting with kids that way. The thing I'm having a hard time with is that I was able to schedule meetings in WebEx Teams using the calendar, but I've had lots of issues with that. When I've opened it up by just pushing the house button and leaving it saying, hey, I'm available on these times, I've noticed considerably less participation versus a calendar invite.
Interesting. So do you think that comes down to the kids not knowing where to find it, or not being in the WebEx Teams app, or they're just not able to get in?
So in every space that I've created, I've tried doing the multiple large group. Algebra 1 is a whole group. So when this first started, I had 96 people in there. I was able to send calendar invites and have a whole room full of people. Obviously not all 96 came, but I was able to at least schedule it so it gave them flexibility in times that they could come in. That wasn't working the best, so then I changed it to just two of my hours in there, and then did calendar invites. Some calendar invites would work, would not work, and then the house now, it just seems to be less participation. Maybe kids have gotten better at watching the online videos that I do, but it just want to make sure that it's accessible for the kids as well.
Yeah, I do think a part of it is, and I'll just use my own kids in my house, but like it's funny to watch. They were so attentive to the work for the first couple of weeks, and now even I mean, they still have their schedule they're doing each day, and they're doing a nice job of it. But even I'm seeing them less and less needing to get into the WebEx, not WebEx, into the Google meetings that their teachers are offering, and I think some of that initial like, how do I do this is sliding away, and other habits are sliding in and other feelings are sliding in. So I guess my thought would be, what can you do, Adam, to first sense if that's what's going on? Can you pull them in any way or find out if they're having less of a need to attend? But then the other question is, we've been really hammering this week in our WebEx in these sessions, like, what kind of feedback can you give, and what can you shake it up with any kind of different sorts of projects that might challenge them and just re-engage them a little bit? So just a thought.
Sure. I'm trying to keep some of the notes at least somewhat consistent from when we were face to face to try and make the transition a little easier versus trying to introduce a new app. Some of the feedback I've gotten from the kids is that they're struggling navigating from each class to class. And so trying to keep things consistent from, hey, it's just a notability thing, or take notes however you want. Just on a notebook, I think is just challenging for some kids as well.
Absolutely. I would tell you too, and just in the conversations I've been having, my model tech teachers met this week and said, yeah, they're seeing a lot less, partially because students have figured things out and they're not asking questions. They don't need, as much support, but a little bit of a slide. And I know the conversation at North in our building space has been less participation this last week. And I don't know if some of that's just the, hearing that this isn't as important right now, or if it's a case of the novelty's worn off. So I think anything you can do to build that engagement. And maybe it is even it's saying a personal email saying, hey, check your team space and we've got meetings during these times, may seem a little bit more personal than them having to go get it, if that makes sense.
Sure. I have noticed attendance has actually been not too bad, pretty consistent, which is good. So it seems at least they're connecting that way. Again, whether the work is being done, that's still to be determined, but that's always the case, whether you're face-to-face or virtual. I'm going to try the, I don't know what that's called, but Brian had the link. It's got the arrow on it, Screencastify with the screen recorder. And so I'm going to try and do my face in the video. So I've been doing the videos as well, but maybe just making that personal piece of that they see somebody in there, again, might help them with an online video if most kids are going that route as well.
I think overall, I've seen more success in like the classroom meeting kind of concept with my elementary schools. The kids know, oh, every day we're going to meet with our teacher at this time. It's usually like a 15-20 minute meeting. It's short, and those have been really well attended by the elementary kiddos. But I've seen in both of my secondary buildings that it kind of falls off with those kiddos. And I think it's because our elementary kids are coming into one meeting a day, right? One meeting because they just have that one main classroom teacher that they're connecting with, whereas our high school kids are having that meeting with all their teachers. Maybe that might mean for them 6-7 teachers or 6-7 meetings. That's how many times they're having to go in and to do those meetings. And I think they just get a little bit of that overkill. So if like your team meetings are like short and concise, or like there's always that intended purpose at the meeting, I think that draws in a few more kids. But yeah, definitely scheduling, like, and letting them know, hey, it's going to be, we're connecting because of this, or we're connecting because of that. But I think overall at the secondary, I've heard more success just having individual times set up with students who might need that extra connection. And that's been a little bit more successful.
Part is, scheduling and doing that. I've tried to at least coordinate different times throughout the course of the day, because a lot of people said that they're just busy with home life and everything. So just trying to at least connect them and give them an opportunity to do it multiple times. Typically it's only 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes Definitely. Of instruction or fit time to time. So
are you finding, because this kind of goes with the meetings, are you trying to use like the grid mode so the kids can see each other? Have you jumped onto that wagon yet?
Well, I've tried. So then that would be starting my meeting in WebEx meetings, correct?
Yeah.
So I tried that one day, and then there was an issue of connecting my iPad that day. So I don't know if that was a WebEx meetings issue or if that was my iPad issue. Most kids don't like to show their face, but maybe they have that option.
I think that's a secondary thing too, right?
Most kids don't like when I notice who's on there, and I'll ask for, appropriate wait time and have somebody answer. A lot of times it's not. Usually it's pretty silent, but at least at the secondary level, if you see certain kids in there, you'll know, like, oh, hey, there's Brian. He'll say something now. So it's mostly the same kids, but maybe the grid view could help. The issue that I would have probably with the kids is that if they're taking notes on their iPad and they have WebEx meetings up at the same time, that window's going to be pretty small already.
Yeah, they definitely have to have it in the split screen. And
So they would have that split screen already, and then they have Notability up with my screen of writing things down. So
yeah.
there's always.
Just so you know, I did a little testing on this. You might want to run it with the kids too, but I did note that if you WebEx meetings is one of those where you can have it running in the background and they can have you don't have to have it front and center. So if you wanted to have Notability up and something else up, WebEx meetings, as long as that's where they started, they should stay in the call and continue to hear you at least. So if it's not something they need to see the screen, you know, that can work as an option. But because I was wondering that too, how do we do both? And that's where we started getting that slide overview and, you know, those pieces. But it's one of the apps where it can actually seem to run in the background and continue the audio at least.
So then would I start the meeting then from my desktop website for meetings?
Yes. Yeah, that you could do it there too. That's right. Yep. I'm just thinking for their lens where they're having multiple windows on the iPad at the same point, like you could have them, you know, basically open another app up. So Notability could potentially be full screen, let's say, while they're still hearing you from the WebEx through the WebEx meeting.
Yeah. So they wouldn't be seeing WebEx. They would be working in Notability, but they would still be hearing you.
Sure.
Right. So just a thought.
Yeah. I've had a lot of our elementary people, my elementary teachers, who are struggling to use the grid view. They want the kids to be able to see the grid view, and like getting it to actually work on their iPad and their Mac at the same time has been like either hit, yes, I got it, or miss, total fail. So I'm trying to troubleshoot through some of those things. So I was curious if you were having success using that way or not. And I know for the littles, they like to see each other. I was in a meeting this morning. One kid was like brushing her teeth in the bathroom and like, turn your camera off. You don't need to show us all that, you know. They're like, this is my house and all this stuff. So they like being on the camera. You have to like, okay, we're all turning our cameras off now. So, you know, you kind of have to get them to stop sharing. And I know like with our secondary kids, they don't want to be on the screen as much. So.
All right. Well, hey, anything else today that we can help anybody with? All right. I think that's an appropriate wait time. So we're at the 30-minute mark. So just wanted to say thanks to you guys for joining us today. And if you have anything, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to help at any point. This just happens to be one way that we can do it and connect with you, but certainly don't hesitate to ask questions as you go, or if you need follow-up resources from today, let us know. You guys all have a great rest of your day today and Friday, rolling into the weekend. And again, let us know if you need anything.
Josie, let me know if you want to do one-on-one.
Sounds good. Yeah, maybe now we can. Yeah, because I do have a